And now, let's join Maggie Linton on SiriusXM Urban View.
We begin with valuable lessons for a better life. Sharing his journey is chartered engineer and business expert Dr. Asoka Jinadasa. He shares a model for success with his book, Flying Penguin, How to Create Miracles in Your Life Using the 6 Dimensions of Success.
I was looking for 6 holistic dimensions which lay the foundation for everything in life. So heart was obvious, emotional intelligence. Then mind was your creative, rational, and spiritual intelligence. Passion is the fire inside that drives us. Focus is very important so we reach our goals despite setbacks. And 2 things that nobody talks about is body and health.
Well, you also say it's how important it is to get rid of fear, because fear stops so many people from achieving their success. It's almost like fear of success rather than fear of failure that stops them.
Fear is a very strong primal emotion. We depended on fear for fight or flight for thousands of years.
You also talk about balancing the brain.
That's important because we have 2 halves of the brain. The left half of the brain is the one that does all the rational, logical stuff. Then the right half of the brain is the creative half. Now, one of the reasons why little children are like learning machines is because they have beautifully balanced left and right half of the brain. They are very good in maths, science, they can sing, they can dance, they can draw, they can do anything. Now, that whole brain integration, science shows, increases brain power by 5 to 10 times. Now, unfortunately, as you grow older and we are faced with the pressures of passing examinations, there's a tendency to drop the creative stuff. You have no time for that. So, as a child, you were walking beautifully on 2 legs. Now, as an adult, you walk only on your left leg because your right leg doesn't work anymore.
But you want it to.
Absolutely. So, it's very simple. It's very simple to go back to the things you did as a teenager, as a child. So even if you are, stressed executive, sing, dance, have fun. Then you get that left brain, right brain balance, which boosts your creativity. And in the crazy business world that we live in, creativity holds the key to success.
Yeah, it definitely does. You talk about the way to empower your mind, your brain, is also to empty it and learn how to get a true relaxed alpha state.
Yes, now that's again the reason why children who are around 5 years old, they're like learning machines because their minds, their brain waves are operating in the more relaxed alpha state. Now, as we grow older, while we are doing something, we think of all kinds of other things. So our mind goes into the beta state, which is not very good for learning. Creative people have to go back to that alpha state. So one of the things that I recommend is if you work for 1 hour, give your brain a rest, get up from the chair and do some music, do some dancing, shake your body, yawn, that kind of thing. And you immediately get back that brain power that you have except when it is disrupted by stress.
But you also talk about how to de-stress quickly.
Yes, one of the simplest ways of de-stressing, you'd never believe, is to chew each mouthful 32 times at least. Each time you chew, you clench your teeth, your brain goes into the alpha state. That's a very simple technique for de-stressing. And the other simple techniques are get up from your chair and shake your body, shake every part of your body. And immediately the stress disappears and your body and your mind become more relaxed. You need simple techniques for de-stressing that produce results immediately. You can't tell the boss, I'm going to go and live under a tree for 1 week because I want to de-stress. That doesn't work.
I was going to say, you give some really great techniques about, and number one, how to train your memory, because so often we spend a lot of time saying, oh, I can't remember, or I forgot, or something like that. But you say, train your memory to be at its peak condition. And one of the ways, the smartest way, is just drinking water.
Yes, because research shows that when you're thirsty, your brain power comes down by 14%. Unbelievable, right?
Right.
The other secret to memory, Maggie, is that you remember what is important. So if you want to remember a list of 10 things, you set up what are called memory pegs. You set up 10 pegs in your mind, which I explained in Flying Penguin, and you create some action. For you to remember something, action is the glue. Because the mind remembers something if you connect it to some strong action. So we don't have a bad memory. What we have is an untrained memory. And it's very easy to train it using these memory pegs that I explain in Flying Penguin.
Very easy. Basically, you say type or write frequently to also activate your brain and to exercise it.
That's correct. For example, if you write with your non-dominant hand, that's a great way to exercise the brain, that balance the left and the right half. Of course, far more interesting is to sing, dance, do sports, act, that kind of thing. Because that's the creative part. So when you do creative things, the right half of the brain gets activated, so you find the balance between the logical left half and the creative right half that you had as a child.
Talk about the chakras.
You have energy centers in your body. This is like, for example, in your car. You have a braking system, you have a suspension, you have the engine, you have the carburation, you have the air conditioning. For the car to function well, all these subsystems have to function. Similarly, in our body, we have energy centers. The obvious one is the heart. Then you have the throat chakra. Then you have the ajna between your eyebrows. So what the Oriental mystics are saying is that your performance depends on the state of each of these chakras. In my book, Flying Penguin, I give 8 exercises, very simple. If you do these every day, it awakens all these chakras, and you become a superstar, because you were a superstar at birth. So it's a matter of finding again this magic and the power that you possessed as a child. For example, one of the simplest things is you stand straight, then you raise your arms above your head, bend backwards as far as you go, and then bend forward. So you're like a reed moving in the wind. Now, this simple exercise frees all the tension in your spine.
Way you awaken it, and you give some examples, is through Qigong.
Qigong is basically standing meditation. The simplest form of Qigong, you stand still like a tree, don't move. And you breathe gently, and you get in touch with your internal energy. That is the simplest form of Qigong. Qigong means breathing meditation.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be very hard because people aren't used to being still.
Exactly. That's why it is very powerful. Because that stillness calms your body, it calms your mind. And you see, the way I see it, Maggie, your mind is like a mirror. If the mind is still, it's like the surface of a lake, which is like a mirror. And you see reality reflected in great detail. But if your mind is not very still, then the life that you see reflected in your mind also looks very chaotic. That's the way I understand it.
Well, you also talk about how people can heal themselves of illnesses and boost their immune system, which is one way to not even get sick in the first place.
Well, I was born 70 years ago in a little village in Sri Lanka. And at that time, there was no heart disease, there was no cancer, never heard of tuberculosis, never heard of diabetes. And the reason is that there were no supermarkets. So everything that we ate was natural. Now, the research that I did when I was writing Flying Penguin shows that processed food is the cause of every single illness. And there's enough evidence to support that. So for the past 10 years, I have been eating like that. 10 years ago, I was 60 and I look 60. Now I'm 70. People say I look 20 years younger. All I did was to purify what I eat and do these simple energy exercises to increase the level of oxygen in my cells. So everything I wrote in Flying Penguin, I have personally tested them and they absolutely work.
It's basically just, in a sense, getting back to basics. I like the way you said Don't eat what your mother cooked. Eat what your grandmother cooked.
Yeah, because during grandmother's time, especially in Sri Lanka, there were no supermarkets.
Yeah.
Everything was fresh.
And it's so interesting for you to do. Talk about the tapping technique, too, because I've heard about it in the past, but that's also a way for you to awaken your systems.
Tapping is how you communicate with your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is like a supercomputer. It has incredible power because that's what controls your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your body temperature, digestion, everything. Now, tapping is there are certain points in the body that Gary Craig discovered long time ago, and he found that if you use two fingers to tap on these points, which I explain in my book Flying Penguin, and you say certain positive things. For example, you have a toothache. If you tap on these points and say, my tooth is now completely healed. Very simple things like that absolutely work. I have tried them. 1 week ago, I had major surgery in my mouth, and the doctor gave me antibiotics and painkiller. So I told the doctor, look, I don't use that stuff. So he thought I was crazy. I came home. They all think I'm crazy, these doctors, because I don't use any of that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Came home, and the first day there was pain, but then the next day it was all gone. I was healed.
And you just merely awakened the systems to operate pain-free.
Yeah. You tell the subconscious mind, hey, my friend, fix this. And the subconscious mind has the power to do that. So tapping is a way how you communicate between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, and you send messages to the subconscious mind. That's a very simple way of explaining emotional freedom technique, which is also called tapping.
Yeah, it's one of the easiest things that one can do.
Absolutely. It works all the time. Say you have to make a speech in front of a group of people and you're feeling absolutely nervous. If you tap for 1 minute and you say, the audience loves me, they love me, I'm very confident, I'm going to knock their socks off. And then all that fear is gone. So it's a very practical technique for almost any situation in life.
Mind and body working together. Well, once again, many thanks to chartered engineer and business expert. He's got a lot of good things to talk about, folks. It is Dr. Asoka Jinadasa. His book again is Flying Penguin, How to Create Miracles in Your Life Using the 6 Dimensions of Success.